Welcome to our live with artists and designers and illustrators all over the world. And today our guest is a very talented comic artist and journalist, Cecilia Marins. She's a Brazilian comic artist, and today we will talk about comic artist's journey. And I hope we will learn some tips uh, how to create visual storytelling and how blend journalism and creativity. Also, we will talk about social impact into uh, art. And Cecilia is known for her beautiful and very important storytellings that she shows in her comics, and she collaborated with such brands as Netflix, and I hope she will share with us some of the story behind the scenes of how she create all these really important stories in her comics, and how she find clients, also how to put all these important messages in so simple lines in the simple story in a comic book. Cecilia, if you hear me, please send me the request so I can add you to the live. And for everyone who is listening, you're very welcome to write any questions in the comments. And also, if you don't want to miss any highlights of this interview, you're welcome to subscribe to the newsletter in my bio. Then you receive all the tips from this interview right into your inbox. And I see the request. Yeah, please feel free to write in the comments any questions you may have to Cecilia or me, and we will be happy to answer them.
Hi, Paulina. How's it going?
Oh, hi. How are you?
I'm fine.
Happy to see you.
It's good to see you too. I'm happy for the invite. Thank you.
Thank
I'm flattered.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining. I'm really very curious about your art because, to tell you the truth, I am far away from comics, so I don't have any experience in this in this direction of art. So for me, it's really very interesting to know more about how you create it. I find it really challenging and hard to put all your ideas in a very simple illustration, and especially that you have so much social impact through your art. So it would be very interesting to know all the things today. But let's start from the beginning. Can you please share with us a little bit of your background? Where did you study art, or how did you come to this combination of storytelling, art, journalism altogether?
Sure. So hi for those of you who don't know me. I'm Cecilia. I'm a comic artist and journalist and illustrator from Brazil. And I studied journalism in 2014. I got into college and I followed the traditional path, and I was getting ready to get started on my thesis to get graduated. And I found out about comics journalism, and it was like a new world open to me because I used to draw, but I didn't know what to do with it, and I was ready to follow a traditional path like writing and and making videos, like traditional journalism. I found out about a comics journalism piece from Elo D'Angelo, a fellow comic artist of mine, and she talked about the stories of Brazilian women, and it was amazing. So I decided to to mix art and journalism, comics and journalism. I don't have a traditional art education. I pursued it after I graduated. I started drawing professionally in 2020. So it was quite a journey, and I had to keep up the pace, you know, to be able to work professionally and have good quality work. And yeah, I I think that's it. I special and I focused on specializing. Okay, Paulina, it's been a while since I spoke in English.
Don't worry, it's
I'm
okay. It's
getting
totally
ready.
okay. Okay, let's. I'm not a native speaker. I do really make a lot of mistakes in English, and yes, we can just sit at home and don't make these calls, and because of our English. But I think it's not the reason, and we are not here, not teaching English, so it's totally okay. Feel free and take your time. I know, especially it's can be really stressful to speak not your language in life. I hope that everyone who's listening really can relate to this. That it's stressful to be online, to speak in a different language, to share some clever thoughts on about your art. So
Yeah, it
yeah.
is. It's yeah, it is. It is. It is. But things are going to get going.
Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, comics journalism is really a big inspiration for me. I really like to make sensitive pieces, you know, pieces about taboo themes, and I think it's comics are a great medium for that. So we can talk about it later, but that's it. Journalist, I graduated and then pursued art, and then I got to some art courses that were really great. I studied with Felipe Watanabe, who is a comic artist, I think for DC and or Marvel. So that's great. And he gave me some really good tips on how comics work. Not really the superhero way, but how I can use the language to spread my message. So it was really great, and yeah, I learned a little bit every day.
Mhm. And do you remember how did you feel the time when you just started to draw in this style, to try to put your ideas into small illustration? And was it really challenging for you, or maybe it was something that you did naturally? Okay, this is the character with this, and here are the thoughts. Can you go deeper in that period of time when you started to draw comics? What was your feeling about that?
I it was funny. I had a year to do my thesis, and I had never done comics before. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. It will be hard, but you know, let's do it. Let's go. So I had a fixed time. I had my work cut out for me, and the thing I tried to focus on was okay. I've read comic books. I've seen movies. I'll try to translate this the best I can. I'm not. Part of it was. Part of it was easy. It flowed because I'm used to having diaries, and I don't write on my diaries. I make comics about things I'm going through. Some of my comic strips, more recently, are part of my diaries. Um, but when it comes to talking about other things from other people with interviews and a lot of investigative stuff, that's when the journalism comes through. That's when I need to. That's when it gets hard because we need to have some fixed quantity of information, and we need to make it easy for people to understand. So yeah, talking about feelings is easy. Making comments about uh, how I feel, how I want people to feel, to influence them. But when it comes to okay, now let's be professional, let's put information here, let's pack it with information, then it needs to have some kind of other structure.
Yeah. Can you please walk us through your creative process? For example, you have an idea, the story as a journalist, and you want to put it into an illustration in a comic. How do you do this?
Well, I have an idea and I want to talk about a theme, or people invite me to cover some stories. First, I gather as much information as I can. So I watch documentaries. I read a lot of news reports, a lot of studies, and when I have as much information I can get, I start mapping out people that I can interview. So okay, I made a comic journalism piece about Coca-Cola around the world and how Coca-Cola influences um, how people eat and drink and their eating habits throughout history. And part of it was in Mexico. It's a really big theme about things people are not familiar with, and so I had to to read a lot of text, a lot of documents, interview a lot of people, and I was like, okay, who will be great to talk to? So there's a woman in Mexico. I won't remember her name. I'm sorry, but she is very political about how big food brands work in Mexico. I thought, okay, that's a great person to talk to get some information from. Then I interview them, and then I put everything on paper. I put all my interviews. I transcribe them. I get all the information I had already pinpointed, and then I make a script. And then from the script, I make art, and then from art, I send it to my editor. We publish it, and we send it around the world. That's it. For my comic journalism pieces, that's it. For my comic pieces, I mean my comic strips, I I I feel, and that works also with my personal comics. Like these are things that have touched me, you know. And I feel I need to talk about this. I feel people don't have a full grasp of what's going on. So I'll use my abilities to the best of them, to the best extent of them, so I can make people have a bigger outlook, a more informed outlook, and perhaps a more sensitive outlook on the theme I'm covering.
Mhm. Do you know who is your audience? Who usually, when we talk about comic journalism, it's a very specific type of art of journalism. I don't know how better to name this. Uh, you said that you send it to the publishing agency or what? Where is it? A magazine, a
Yeah,
website?
magazines and websites. I work with editors from them.
Mhm.
So usually they are people that hire my work or republish it, are some editors from independent journalism websites. So we had O Joio e o Trigo. I know there's a saying that translates this, so but I forgot it now. It's a really great website for uh, food politics. It's great.
Mhm.
We had a lot of fact-checking agencies that work hard in the election. It's great also from São Paulo, from Rio de Janeiro, from the south of Brazil. So people who use people who usually commission me, that's them. But my audience, from people who buy my comic books and people who read them, it's varied. It's great. It's great. I when I started, I thought there wouldn't be much of an audience for stuff like this, because I was like, okay, it's very, for lack of a better word, not to sound too full of myself, because it's not. I just don't know a better word. It's so deep. It's so, intricate. I don't think a lot of people like, okay, Saturday afternoon, I'm sitting here at Carolina, so I'm gonna read a comic journalism piece, you know, about a taboo theme. But it's going great. It's usually younger people, like from 18 to 35. That's my Instagram audience. It's mostly women. It's like 65% women. And when I go to comic book fairs and I have my table with my stuff set up, it's usually older men. It's like men from 25 to 55. And yeah, so depending on where I am, the public varies, but it's usually people who don't know much about the issue I'm covering. So I studied in a Catholic school, and my stuff is not really, it's not really something that's very PG, because that's where, when things are hidden, that's where a lot of taboos and misconceptions come from. So I try to approach stuff with a clear view, and the guys from my Catholic school were like, okay, I want to read it. My principal was like, okay, let me read it. Let me buy your comic book. I like it. I didn't know how the lives of the women here, some women who work on the streets. I'm not trying to get our life demonetized or taken down, but how it is. I didn't know how it was. I didn't know it was so hard. I didn't know they suffered so much through some things. So yeah, that's great. People usually have a more sympathetic view, and I'm happy for that.
Can you share maybe what are the most important project that you did? I mean that what projects, how do you think had the most impact, social impact? Maybe some story that you can share.
Sure. There were two projects. It was one that you mentioned. I saw your live before I came in. It was with Netflix. It was Amarelo, It's All for Yesterday. And it was a beautiful project. I had the pleasure to participate. And I was grateful to be part of a project that had so much impact on Black Brazilians' history and self-esteem. It's about going back in history and seeing the roots of music, culture, and seeing the importance Black Brazilians had in our country's history. So we come from a very divided country, and to be part of a project from a great artist like Emicida. He's brilliant. I was a fan before I worked with him. So and to see so many people, to be able to draw some important things in Brazil's history, and to see some people being affected by it, it's awesome. It was awesome. It was one. We were nominated for an Emmy, which, well, it's I've never dreamed of that, you know. So it's amazing. It was amazing. And the second one was, I was a cartoonist for a show called Roda Viva. It's an interview show. It's like one person in the middle and a lot of people around them making questions. And usually it's a very important person. So my interviewee was a woman called Cida Gonçalves. She's the Women's Minister of Brazil. And I got to draw her and be around these very important journalists, you know, interviewing her, and it's a really prestigious spot in Brazilian television. So there was a cartoonist that was there for like 30 years, 35, and unfortunately passed away. And the network called a lot of cartoonists for different different shows. So it was one cartoonist per show. And then I got the opportunity to be in one. So it was like a recognition, you know, to
Mhm.
be able to draw such an important woman that is doing so much for women's rights, and to be able to work with a musician like Emicida on a platform like Netflix. These were two projects that were like really near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, it's really huge. I'm very happy for you that you have such an experience.
Thank you, thank
Um,
you.
and what kind of feedback do you usually receive from your audience, from people who are following you? How how does your art uh, impact them?
Mm,
What kind of feedback do you usually get?
what kind I'm sorry, the light skipped a little. What kind of
Yeah,
answer do I usually get?
yeah,
Reaction?
yeah, feedback,
Yeah,
comments.
sure. I mean, people are surprised that that the stuff they read really existed. They're like, I didn't know this happened. It was like right before my eyes. I go to that park every day. I live in the street. I live in the city. I drink this soda. I eat this food. I didn't know that. So they're like, well, a new world. I can see a new world. I see stuff differently. So that's one of the reactions I really like, because I too now see stuff differently after I did the comics piece, you know.
Mhm.
My friends really can't handle me, because after I finish a piece, I go out and was like, did you know that? Da, 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 da. And then I talk a lot about what I recently learned. They're like, okay, Cecilia, I get, wow, I get it. Thank you. Yeah, that's that. And when I make my comic strips about um, emotional issues, relationship issues, sensitive issues, people are like, oh, I feel seen. It's great. I can be cringe too, you know. That's great. I've felt that way. I'm happy your stuff popped on my Instagram. The algorithm must be, must be listening to me. That's good. That's
Mhm.
usually the reaction.
When you create your comics with these really powerful ideas that are put into simple lines and characters, do you test it somehow? I mean that maybe how do you understand? Is it clear enough for others? Maybe you have a friend or other artist, I don't know, someone who you show the picture. Do you understand everything? How do you think what I
Yes,
wanted to say? Yeah?
I
Do,
do.
do.
I live with my family for now. And I showed it to my grandmother. I was like, Grandma, do you understand this? Do you get it? And she's like, yeah, okay. And then I show it. Sometimes my mom, I'm really blessed to have parents that are really my biggest fans. They're really supportive of me. And so like I finish a comic piece and then I go like, read it,
Mhm.
please. Is it good? Do you understand the gag? And sometimes I'm like, nah, I don't. Then I have to edit it. But I usually show my family and some of my friends. I have a group of friends that are in the comics industry. But first I show my grandma. Yeah.
That's so sweet. Um, you mentioned before that you have a journal where you put your graphic ideas. And am I right that you start doing this before you became an artist and a
Yeah,
journalist? Yeah, so
yeah.
yeah, and how do you do this? I mean, was there any idea, or maybe you read somewhere how to do this, or was it intuitively? Maybe you can give some tips to others because I find this kind of journaling is really amazing. I heard about this from some of my students and artists that they do the same. I would love to do the same, but I find that it's really hard to put very clear idea into a character. In this, usually these journals, they are fast and easy to, so you don't sit 2 hours on one page, right? So do you have any tips how you start doing this, and what is the secret of these journals?
So this came kind of intuitively because Brazilian children grow up reading Monica's Gang. I don't know if you Monica's Gang is in your country, is published in your country. We can talk about it later. I would really like to know. I'm curious. But it's these four friends that, I mean, it's been going on for like 70 years. No, not 70 years. It's not 70 years. Like 50 years. A long time. Mauricio, the creator, has been going on for quite a few years. It's a big studio here in Brazil. And I mean, my whole life, I opened the door of my house every month, and there was this little box with 2 comic books that were released a month. And there were a lot of funny stories because there's Monica, the main girl. She's very strong. She has like this blue rabbit, and I could sit here all day explaining it, but it's fun. And so I grew up from like 2 to 3 years, from starting 2 to 3 years old. I already read Monica's Gang. I was like, okay, there's this natural understanding of the rules of comics. So I know time goes on from one frame to another. I know that when a character is like so done, he can look at the camera, make a face, or when he's sad, we can make the whole frame kind of darker, so we can make it represent his feelings. There's like this innate feeling like, okay, this is right. The narrative is going this way. And I mean, a tip for people to start, just do it. I didn't know how to draw when it started. I mean, my first comic book, I'm great. If I'm being honest, it's a success based on what I expected for it. You know, my first comic book, my first comic journalism piece. I didn't know much of anything, and it's going well. I'm happy with it. So just do it. You know. Oh, but it's ugly. Don't care. You'll get better with time. Oh, but I don't know how to do it. You can always improve. You can always research. You can always read. Reading other comic artists, whether the comics are good or bad. Bad comics are also lessons, so you know what to not do. Reading is great. I spent 20 years of my life just reading, and I started drawing at 21. So that's okay. You have baggage and reference, just like we have in Monica's Gang. I had when I started doing my diaries, and that's it. And don't be afraid to have the perfect drawing. People are like, oh, how I find my style? I want to find my drawing style. Like it's some goal to attain, but the style changes throughout the years. We have one of the biggest stars in Brazilian comics, Laerte. She's amazing. She's had decades of a career that spans decades, and her art style changed throughout the years. So I always I always tell people like your style is what you can do with what you have, with your abilities. You know, I want you to draw this tree, and I want you to draw it this way. I can do it this way, so do it. Do it. The time will pass anyway. You know, you learn anyway. That's it. So yeah, I think the answer was like here and there, but that's it. Monica's Gang is like the foundation for 99% of the comic artists that started reading. A lot of people are I forgot the word, alphabetized. I think they learn to read with Monica's Gang. So that's it. That was my way, and that's how I knew how to how to put myself in these comics and situations.
Thank you for sharing. And how do you think, what are the main reasons why do you create this type of art? Why you combine journalism and comic? What is the most important things for you there?
I feel a lot. I'm a very sensitive person. I it's kind of bad sometimes because things touch me a lot. I'm like, okay, I need to talk about this, and because I need to talk about this, because sometimes things are unfair and they're wrong, and sometimes they're amazing, and I want to talk about them. I want to make people know about them. Because of this, I do what I do. So um, I'm a very sensitive person, and people are sensitive too. They're just desensitized by everyday shenanigans from other people. They're desensitized by the news. They're desensitized by the um, social media, unbridled social media usage. It's a lot of information, and the brain can process that quite much. So they're like, okay, I want to shut down my feelings. And I'm like, okay, no, let's not do it. Take your time, read my stuff, let's feel together. That's why I do what I do. I think I answered your question, right?
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful way for you to express your emotions and to make this message really clear and make a really big impact over to the world. And do you have any dream projects in mind? Maybe some artistic goals that you would
I,
like to?
I do. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, please share with us. I'm curious.
I do. I'm going to France in December.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to an artistic residence in the Maison des Auteurs in Angoulême. I usually say this in Portuguese or in French. English, Angoulême. Angoulême. Okay. So it's for my dream project. It's called Three Stations or Talk to Me. I'm really working on the translation of the title, but okay, Three Stations is a good title. It's about this girl, Anna. She's a journalism major. It's not biographical. And she goes to a party and kisses her best friend there. Her best friend Louisa, both girls, and she is very religious and is very religious. And so she goes through this despair, like, oh my god, what have I done? What did I do? My life's going to fall apart. What will my family think of this? What will my religion think of this? And she runs off to the nearest subway so she can go home. She gets on the subway, the train car is empty, but when she looks to her side, God is by her side. And she has 3 stations or 15 minutes to discover why he's there and to work stuff out. So it's a project I idealized in 2020. So the world was falling down. I didn't have much of a brain and time and spirit to work on it. It was developed during a script writing course, and it was like a 3-page exercise. And then 3 pages turned to 10, that turned to 40, and then I had a comic book. And I waited for the right time to do it, to have the ability and the means to publish it, you know. Um, and then I sent a letter to this residence, and they accepted it. And yeah, it's kind of my dream project. I've always wanted to go to France. I went to countries nearby, but never to France, which is my dream, like from when I was 12 years old. And Angoulême is the city of comics, the capital of comics in France. So the whole city is like drawn with comics, big comic artists or an homage to big comic artists, like on the walls of the houses, on the walls of the city. And there are a lot of comic museums. One of the world's biggest comic events, the Angoulême Festival, is there. And we had one of them. I'm very grateful things worked out. So yeah, that's one. That's like the biggest one right now. And I would really love to do a comic about teen moms. Um, Early pregnancy is sometimes it's dismissed as a lack of, I forgot the word, responsibility. Sometimes it's taken as much, it's always the mother's fault and the girl's fault. Oh, okay, I should have taken better care, but stuff happens. And sometimes it's a health issue, it's a societal issue, and it affects a lot of girls all around the world. And sometimes it's taken as a spectacle. You know, there was a show called Teen Mom on MTV. I used to watch it. It was like there's this 15, 16-year-old moms, and then I became a journalist and I started to look at it and I was like, oh my god, it's bigger than that. So I went to interview teen moms from Brazil, from different incomes, different cities, different neighborhoods, and I want to see what their lives are like, what support net they have, what what life they dream to have and they can have. Yeah, this is an issue that's very, very, very dear to me, and that's that's a comic I want to make after I come back from France and eat a lot of cheese, a lot of bread, and yeah, awesome.
First of all, congratulations with projects in France, and I think the second one is really very important to many women. Thank you for doing this. And can you please share some tips or give advice for artists, for comic artists who are starting their journey? Maybe you can share some challenges that you met at the beginning and maybe you spent a lot of time to overcome them. And now having this experience, you can give some hints or advice, what to focus on, what to do or not to do.
Sure. Okay, so let's divide it by segments. Okay, my work is not as beautiful as I want it to be. It will never be. It will be satisfied. It will be very pretty. It will be very good. But from my experience, you will always want more from yourself. So don't fret on like, oh, my style isn't where I want it to be. I compare myself to the greats and I'm not getting near them. The greats also have self-esteem issues with their work. It's okay. You have to focus on getting better and understanding comics as a language. Sometimes when people do comics for the sake of comics, like, okay, I'm doing the superhero comic, for example, and the superhero, I want him very big on this page, like his punch going through the frame of the comic, and then a big explosion, and then the page becomes very convoluted, you know, a lot of stuff going around, and we can really understand how the information goes from one page to another. So try to understand comics as a language rather than an art style, right? Because it's like we speak in English. You know, if I told you a story in English, it would be different if I spoke it in Portuguese. I would use different words, different expressions, and I'm telling it in comics. It's the same, you know. Um, yeah, focus on getting better, not getting like someone. That was my comics teacher told me a great story of this guy that wanted to be like one of the greats from Marvel. He was a really great artist. He could draw very realistic portraits and awesome comics. And then he spent his life, devoted his life to getting like one specific artist. And he got his portfolio, a very big, beautiful portfolio, and he took it to Marvel, and Marvel was like, okay, we can hire that guy that inspired you. Why should we hire you? So try to be yourself, get your work. People are going to like your work. Three. I talk a lot, Paulina. You talk a lot. So 3, people, I find it very hard to believe. I tell myself this because yeah, because when you're creative, when you share your art, you're sharing part of yourself. You're sharing part of a personal process, emotional process, thinking process, and you're like, okay, do you like it? I think it's beautiful. Do you think it's beautiful? Yeah, buy it, read it, hang it on your wall, and work for yourself. People are gonna like it. People always expect the best from you. They always want to see more. They always want to support you. I've had a lot of great supporters throughout my career, both people that hired me, people that wanted to work with me. I've had a lot of people that didn't care about me. That's life. That's everywhere. That's not only in art, but there will always be some special people that really connect with you. So hope for that. You don't have to be the best artist in the world. You have to train to be good. You have to strive to be better. You have to learn and try. But people are gonna like you if you are yourself with your art, because it's art is that, you know, it's personal expression. So um yeah, and that's that, you know, about market wise, you know, if you're an independent artist, if you're self-published, things can really go a long way. All my comics are self-published. I have my own publisher. It's called Tangerine Books because of my username, Cecilia Tangerine, and it really helps me center the financial aspect of it. I have two other artists that are published within this publisher, and they have a book with me, and it really helps to work out the money they get from the contracts we signed, you know. And it's great because it centers a lot of the publishing process, and it gives people a sense of like, okay, I'm doing stuff over here, you know. Get with it, get with the team, get with the winning team. Come on, let's read it, and you know, it's made with love. It's a labor of love, and I mean stuff, you know. Let's go get it. And you working with a publisher, it's great. It's awesome. A publisher will give you um, a bigger reach. It will distribute our books to everyone who sells it. It will sell your books online. It will, I forgot the word. It will tell people that your book is being released, but it's not the only thing you have to do. Well, you get it. You get it. You're big on social media. You have a great work going on, and a lot of a lot of times we have to do stuff for ourselves, and it's the best because we know ourselves, we know our work, and we know what works for it. So yeah, if you wanna be published by a big publisher, a small publisher, medium publisher, it's great. I have this book. This right here is called. It was translated to German, but again, I can call it in English. Boohoo Boy. It's about toxic masculinity,
Mm-hmm.
and it was published by Bebel Books. Bebel has a really great work, and she's an independent publisher, and it was great, you know. But do it because you want to, and it's a great career opportunity, not because you feel like you need to. Because if you want to be self-published, that's great too. It's just a different path. That's it.
But by the way, how did you find such collaborations with Netflix and other brands? Did you reach out or they contacted you? Can you give any tips on this? How to find really big collaboration project?
Sure. I have good relationships with people in the industry, so that's one stuff. That's one thing. I have worked with the art director for the Netflix documentary, and in other projects, we have worked in a comics journalism piece about COVID in the Brazilian favelas. We had worked on another project. We have worked a lot together. We work well together. And it was like, okay, we have this secret project. We can't tell anyone about it, but I thought of you, and it was Netflix. So that's that. I have a very big, beautiful, and available portfolio. So people, when they research things that are like my my work comes up and they like it. Yeah, people, they contact me, but it's great to be a little um, I forgot. It was such a fun expression. Out there, it's fun to be a little out there and be like, hey, here's my work. I'm very good. I do what you work with. Let's work together. I have some good clients that were like this. I reach out to them on Twitter, and I was really respectful. Just one message with a link. Not. I wasn't nagging them. I was like, okay, so yeah, my work's really good. Here, check it out if you want to work together. And they liked it. So yeah, most of the times they contact me. But the thing is, in every industry, you build relationships. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing on these wonderful tips and advices. My last question, so looking back, what would you tell to your younger self when you just started this journey?
Just do it. Just do it. I wasted a lot of time on self-doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated with my thesis. It was I don't know how the grading system is where you live, but I got a 10, I got an A. I got a wow, it was I graduated like applause, and it was everything, and for my ego it was awesome. I left feeling like I was nobody could tell me nothing. And then I used to work at a at an agency, ad agency. I used to sell online courses, and I was a copywriter, and it was great. I liked it, but I noticed that my copywriting was getting like, I don't know if you've seen the show Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. The guy makes a butter ad, and he was like, "When was the last time you were truly happy?" I was like, it's he was sad, you know, but the butter ad didn't have to go that hard, you know. And I was like, okay, I need to follow my work, my vocation, you know. And I worked there for like 7 months after graduating. I was getting progressively sad. So I I saved some money, and at the same time I found out about this independent comics event in São Paulo, and we organized it. And when I organized it, a lot of people were like, "You have to publish a comic book, self-publish it." I when this event happens in December, it was like May. I want to start a comic book. There's no way. You have your table. I want to start a comic book. Publish it here, print it here. You do it like this. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. So I wasted like 7 months. I could be doing something great, you know. Um, I could be flying high, and I was down in my work, and it was beautiful, you know. Um, yeah, compared to other people, it might not be that good. People have different opinions, but to me, it's a tour de force. You know, it's like, well, okay, it's done. And for other people, I also give this advice. And for my younger self, I wish I could have said it earlier. And otherwise, I wouldn't have started my career like in 2020 when I couldn't go outside. You know, the official release was for my comic book was like February 2020, March 2020, like March 8th, and then lockdown came in May. Brazil never had an official lockdown, but it's another thing. But I stayed home from May 2020. I stayed home. And I was like, I could have done this earlier if I had, you know. But yeah, I think people tend to people like movies, people like songs, people like books and beautiful patterns, beautiful colorful patterns because it expresses what they feel and how they feel inside and who they are. And they get piercings and tattoos and they dye their hair. And it's all part of a beautiful internal world we have. So a lot of people, we all draw when we were kids, and we all have this need to express ourselves, and we end up losing it along in our life because it's not good. I don't have the talent. I'm not a natural on this. I don't think so. And sometimes, okay, not everybody is going to be an artist. Sometimes people like being accountants. That's okay. But um, if you want to follow this path, know that your internal emotional world it's what's going to connect you with your audience and what's going to make your journey, your artistic journey, your life journey. So I'm being kind of like your life journey beautiful, and that's what really matters. You know, you can make beautiful things. You can learn. You can learn with Paulina. You can take her classes, and it's gonna be great, and it's gonna be awesome. But yeah, we in the beginning of our career we tend to neglect this inner world because we think it's okay. No, follow it. If I were to talk with myself, no, follow, do your stuff, learn what you have to learn, be more out there. I'm very outgoing. It's kind of dangerous for me to be more out there, but yeah, that's it. That would be it.
Thank you so much. It's so beautifully said. I hope that someone who is listening us today or in the recording will listen to themselves and start doing something they postponed maybe for a month. Thank you so much.
I'm very grateful for the invite. I was very surprised that you found out about my work and then we got to connect. I'm very happy. Thank you so much. I love the questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your experience. For me, it was a big pleasure to know more about your artistic journey because for me, it's really something out what I'm doing usually. But uh, I also hear many common things that no matter what type of art we use, the story behind it, the emotions, this passion, it's the same actually. And thank you for sharing.
Very happy. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And someone made a comment in Portuguese. I'm gonna answer them. Oi, tudo bom? Tô aqui. Beleza? That's okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Obrigada.
you.
See?
Bye.
Have a nice day.
Uh,
Bye bye. Bye
bye
bye.
bye. Have a
Bye.
great day. Thank
Yay.
you.
You too. Bye.